Welcome back to Orchid House. I'm Olivier in Fort Lauderdale, and today I just want to give you some general guidance on taking care of Vandas and similar genera. In terms of light, Vandas are very high light plants. I mean, here I grow them under a screening room, but there's high light most of the day. You can put them in direct sunlight if you want to. I would just be careful with time of the day and time of the year. So time of the day, noon is the harshest sun. So I wouldn't put a plant out of the blue exposed to the harshest sun at noon. I would do that very gradually. I mean, ideally you would have a morning sun or an afternoon sun. Time of the year, the summer is very hot, the sun is the harshest. So if you want to try to acclimatize a plant to more light, the time to do it is in the winter. That's always much safer. But basically, Vandas are highlight plants. So Rhynchus stylis here, maybe a little bit less, but still a lot of light. My Rhinanthera, I only have one left now. The Philippinensis, there's a video for it on it. Actually, it's supposed to the Rhinantheras are supposed to have a lot of light and even direct sunlight. This one, for whatever reason, turns very red when I do that, and it's been growing more than in the past by giving less light. So the Philippinensis, for whatever reason here, requires a little bit less. You have these Ascocentrums. The Ascocentrums, unfortunately, are no longer considered Ascocentrums. They are called Vandas, and that's unfortunate because really there was a good reason to put them separately just from a visual point of view. They are smaller, they have smaller flowers, a lot more flowers, and they're also, I mean, more cold tolerant. But apparently genetics have proven that they are Vandas, and so they are now called Vandas. But I find that that's a shame because it was easy to separate them from the crowd. Now, when it comes to watering, these are very thirsty plants. You see the roots are always exposed. You shouldn't. The best thing is to put them in a basket. That's ideal, and then you can water them every day. They need to be watered regularly, but they need to dry it in between. They can't stand having wet feet. So that's why I usually don't put medium. If you look into the basket, some of it has a little bit of cocoa fiber. Occasionally I will put some charcoal because they use a lot of fertilizer as well, and charcoal can be useful. But basically, no potting Vandas. Baskets are the best, or you just mount them like this one, and they attach. This one is fairly recent, a recent acquisition, and you see it readily attaches to the mount and is very happy, and so I can water it. Right now it's so hot this summer in Fort Lauderdale, I water them twice a day. But they dry out fast, and so they are happy like that. Fertilizing, I always say that fertilizing is more like icing on the cake. If you got the light wrong and the watering wrong, you can fertilize all you want, it's going to be a failure. Now, if everything else is done correctly, well, fertilizing is really helpful. And then Vandas are among the hungriest plants you'll find. And so I fertilize them weekly. According to the set, it says weekly, so weekly like every week, and weekly like the opposite of strong. But a friend of mine who's very successful with his Vandas tells me that he fertilizes them every time, weekly. So now that it's the summer, I've started fertilizing them 3 times a week. But I don't push it. I mean, I don't want to burn them. So, I mean, these Vandas typically they all grow the same way. The big difference might be temperature requirements. Now here in South Florida, we are probably the only place on the continental United States where you can grow them year-round outdoors. Even San Diego, I think they can have low 40s at night. That's really not ideal for most of them. Obviously in the tropics, everything is going to be fine. I would say though that it's not really an all-size-fits-all. You have Sanderiana, which is the two-tone species. You have Lamellata and the Arii, which is fairly rare because it's a huge plant and has tiny flowers, so nobody wants it. But you find it you will encounter it in hybrids. Lamellata and Sanderiana are extremely cold sensitive. So if it's 55 or less, 55 Fahrenheit, so like 13 Celsius, they go inside. Denisoniana, tessellata, and definitely cerulea, which is a colder grower, they will take lower temperatures into the mid 40s. And so, I mean, you really have to check. These are two groups that have somewhat different needs. If you have a hybrid, I recommend that you go on orchidroots.com and check what's in the background of your hybrid, because if it's a lot of sanderiana and a lot of lamellata, that's going to be very cold sensitive. If you have a lot of denisoniana tessellata, it's going to be a lot more cold tolerant. Now right now there's not a lot in bloom. I want to show you this one. This is Golden Doubloon. It's a primary hybrid between denisoniana and tessellata, and it looks a lot more like denisoniana, but thanks to tessellata, which has a wonderful quality, which means that when it's behind in the hybrids, they usually tend to bloom a lot. So this one blooms 3 or 4 times a year. The blooms last 30 to 45 days. They are extremely fragrant. It's beautiful, and this plant I've had for maybe 7 or 8 years. You see, there's a keiki here. It has a spike as well. And it's super happy. It's an enormous plant now. It blooms regularly, like clockwork. And so this one, for instance, is going to be cold tolerant. At 45, I will leave it outdoors because it has both denisoniana and tessellata in the background, so I'm not too worried about that. So that's in a nutshell some general considerations. If you live in the United States up north, you won't be able to grow them outdoors for most of the year. These also tend to be big plants, so you have to take that into consideration, but they are wonderful to grow. That's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.